So it's the last day of the Capital Irish Film Festival in Washington, and I'm talking to Elynia Betts, who had a film in the second day of shorts called Maeve of the Moon. And the first question I have for you, is this your first film? How long have you been making films?
It is my first film. I've been in the industry since 2015. Just kind of got into it randomly, actually, but so I've been on lots of big sets and stuff like that, but it's my first one that I've done myself, yeah.
And how was the experience for you?
It was brilliant. I mean, I had this amazing team that just volunteered their time and their efforts and really got involved, and they loved the script and everything, so they were just incredible to work with, and I couldn't have done it without them. It taught me a lot, because I certainly now, all I see when I watch it is all the things that I would do differently next time. But it was a great experience, yeah.
I think it takes a really talented director to get that kind of performance from a child. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about working with that young actress and challenges and expectations and how it worked out.
Yeah, her name's Poppy Caraher. She's brilliant. She's from Monaghan, which is up in the north of Ireland. And honestly, you know, I was a bit concerned about working with a child actor, but she's such a natural, and she's just really, she hasn't even had any proper acting training. She's just really good. She really listens, and she's very observant and very imaginative. And her aunt actually is an actress, so I think that helped with the coaching and stuff like that. But you know what? She was very much open to any kind of suggestions, and I tried my best to not give her too many things at once and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, I don't think it's down to my directing. I think it's down to her talent and down to her ability to, you know, she's wise for her age and just a good little actress.
How did you explain the story to her?
Some of the elements in there are more familiar maybe to some Irish children, I think, because of Irish mythology and kind of the stories and things like that. But I just kind of told her that, you know, it's a maybe make-believe or maybe it's real. It's up to you to decide, kind of. And I think she's very imaginative. Her whole family is crazy in the best kind of way, and they live in this like castle kind of thing up in Monaghan, and they're always make-believing and always playing. And I think it's just really easy for her to kind of take on that role of having a big imagination.
So the ending is left a little ambiguous. Mm-hmm. What's your take on that?
Well, when I wrote it, in my mind, he was very obviously the moon. But when it came down to practicality and to budget and to art direction and all that kind of thing, I realised quickly that I was not going to be able to do exactly what I had originally imagined. So it was going to be less obvious. But then in the end, I kind of liked it because, you know, you can't really tell if this is in the girl's imagination, if it's actually happening, or to what degree it's happening. So I think it leaves it in kind of a fun, you know, it's not terribly tied up, you don't know exactly what's happening, but I think it worked.
A lot of filmmaking is, as you just hinted at, you have an idea and you go with it, and then you run into something and you have to come up with a different approach. Maybe you just talk a little bit about the filmmaking process in that respect, starting out with this notion of Capture Me the Moon, how that becomes a film, but along the way things change for budgetary reasons, for acting reasons.
Yeah, I've definitely learned to be very adaptable. I think when I originally thought of it, it was inspired off of a Japanese painting of a girl in the moonlight near a lake. And I said, oh, what a lovely painting. And I just kind of got the idea from there. But I think in my mind, I have an overactive imagination. So it was completely, you know, over the top, something where I'd need a Spielberg kind of budget to do it properly. Do you know what I mean? And so I would tell people about it, actors and the crew members and stuff. I'd be like, wow, I have this big, you know, fantastical thing. And they loved it. But then when it came down to it, the guy, Peter Melrose, helping me produce it, he's like, you know, pragmatically, that's probably not going to work because we don't have a budget. So it kind of just evolved from there. You have to roll with the punches and really be able to say, maybe it's not going to look how I originally pictured it in my mind, but you can still get the after effect of what you wanted, or the main goal of what you wanted, the gist, and maybe just make it a little bit more realistic, a little bit more down to earth. But yeah, you just got to be flexible.
Going back to Poppy for a second, I think the thing that really hinted to me that this was sort of a special person was just the very opening scene where she's sitting there with her food, and as soon as the parents come in, she starts to eat. Mm-hmm. Was that her? Was that you? Or
I did have that in the script. I did have that. I got so lucky because really I had auditioned a few other child actors, but they were very much more sort of Broadway stage actors, which wasn't exactly what I was looking for. But she completely just naturally fell into the role of Maeve. Like, she pretty much is Maeve. You know, I was kind of writing it for Poppy, having not even met her yet. And it was one of those things, genuinely, I mean, people might say this more often than it's true, but as soon as she walked in, her and her mom, I was like, yeah, that's her, absolutely. And then that was it.
How hard is it to be part of a shorts exhibit? Because it seems to me that it's kind of a double-edged sword in that you have a nice screening, but it's kind of hit or miss what you're sandwiched in between. And so if you've got a comedy on one side of you and a serious piece on the other side of you, you don't really have that if you're sort of a feature film. It's just your film's up there on its own. What's that like?
Well, it is sometimes kind of difficult if you're followed by or preceded by a really amazing film, because you're like, oh no, mine's going to look so terrible in comparison. Which has happened to me at least once. But I think in general it's actually kind of great because you don't necessarily always get to see what your peers are doing or what's going on at the same time that you're making your film. So it really gives you a great view into what other people are thinking about and kind of comparing, what's on their mind and what's current, and seeing, maybe my film wasn't so bad in this one aspect, or then conversely saying, wow, I really need to work on this thing about my next film. It's a really good learning curve. The only downside is really when you're followed by a really brilliant film or something. But
how important is it for somebody like you as a young director to participate in film festivals in the United States? And are you strictly submitting to Irish film festivals or everything?
Well, I think it's hugely important. And I tend to work on really big budget TV shows and that kind of thing as my day job. So then when you're doing your own kind of side project, that feels like something that you just show your mom sometimes. But I think it's hugely important to, not only get it to an audience, but get feedback and then just be a part of a greater filmmaking community of upcoming filmmakers, and just to meet people and everything is really encouraging and really, you really learn from it. And I've been mostly doing Irish film festivals, but I just got a notification today saying that a Russian festival's accepted us, and Maeve will be showing at one in India pretty soon. But mostly I'm concentrating on Irish.
So how is the filmmaking community in Ireland?
I think it's brilliant. I love it. A bit biased, but I got into film completely accidentally. I was getting my master's in literature at Trinity College, but for the same reasons that I love literature, I completely fell in love with film, except that it's more full-bodied, I guess. So it's about the storytelling and the theatre and music, and it's just so many things, history involved in the film community in Ireland, particularly as opposed to maybe America, where it's just completely, they're all mixed together, and it's very much like we're in this together and very collaborative, and you meet people that have never done anything in their life, and then you meet people that have worked on every possible big thing you can imagine, though it's really community organised, I think.
What's next?
Well, who knows? It's a good question. I'm working on a feature, so hopefully that'll get rolling soon.
Thanks very much for your time.
Absolutely, thank you.